Give him this money and these notes, Ronaldo.
I will, Mr. Secretary.
You shall do marvelously wisely, good Ronaldo, before you visit him to make inquire of his behavior.
Mr. Secretary, I did indeed.
Very well said. Very well said. Look you, sir, inquire me what danskers are in Paris, and how and who what meats and where they keep. What company and at what expense are finding by this encompassment and drift of question that they know my son. Come you never nearer more than you particular demands will touch it. Take you as 'twere some distant knowledge of him, and thus I know his father and his friends, and impart him. Do you mark this, Ronaldo?
Hey, very well, Mr. Secretary.
And impart him, but you may say, not well. But if T be him, he's very wild, addicted so and so, and there put on him what forgeries, so and so. Marry, none so rank as may dishonor him. Take heed of that, but sir, such wanton, wild, and usual slips. As our companions noted and most known to youth and liberty.
As gaming, Mr. Secretary.
Aye, or drinking, fencing, swearing, quarreling, drabbing, you may go so far.
Mr. Secretary, that would dishonor him.
Faith, no, as you may season it in charge. You must not put another scandal on him, that he is open to incontinency. That's not my meaning, but breathe his faults so quaintly, that they may seem the taints of liberty, the flash and outbreak of a fiery mind, a savageness as unreclaimed blood of general assault.
But my good Mr. Secretary.
Wherefore should you do this?
Hey, Mr. Secretary, I would know that.
Marry, sir, here's my drift, and I believe it is a fetch of wit. You laying in these slight sullies on my son, as 'twere a thing a little soiled, I thee working. Mark you, your party in converse, him would you sound. Have ever seen in the prenominate crimes the youth you breathe of guilty, be assured he closes with you. In this consequence, good sir, or so, friend, or gentleman, according to the phrase or the addition of man and country.
Very good, Mr. Secretary.
And then, sir, does he this? Does he? What was I about to say? By the mass, I was about to say something. Where did I leave?
At closes in consequence? At friend? Oh, so, and gentleman?
At closes and consequences, I, Mary. He closes thus. I know the gentleman. I saw him yesterday, or the other day. Or then, and then, with such or such, and then as you say. There he was gaming, there overtook in rouse, there falling out at tennis, or, perchance, I saw him enter such a house of sale. Vitalict, a brothel, or so forth, see you now. Your bait of falsehood takes his carp of truth, and thus do we of wisdom and of reach. With windlasses and with the accesses of bias, by indirections find directions out, by so many former lecture and advice, shall you, my son, have you me, have you not?
Mr. Secretary, I have.
Good to be with you, then. Farewell, you.
Good, Mr. Secretary.
Observe his inclination in yourself,
I shall, Mr. Secretary.
and let him ply his music.
Well, Mr. Secretary.
Farewell.
Thank you.
How now, Ophelia? What's the matter?
Oh my lord, I have been so affrighted.
With what in the name of God?
My lord, as I was sewing in my closet, Lord Hamlet, with his doublet all unbraced, no hat upon his head, his stockings fouled, ungraded, and down givy to his ankle, pale as his shirt, his knees knocking each other, and with a look so hideous and purport as if he had loosened out of hell, to speak of horrors if he comes before me.
Mad for thy love?
My lord, I do not know, but truly I do fear it.
What said he?
My lord, he took me by the wrist and held me hard. and goes he to the length of all his arm, and then with his other hand thus over his brow, he falls to such profusal of my face, as he would draw it. Long stayed he so.
Come, go with me, I will seek the king. This is the very ecstasy of love, whose violent property foredoes itself, and leads the will to desperate undertakings, as oft any passion under heaven. That does afflict our natures, I am sorry. What, have you given him any words of hard late?
No, my good lord, but as you did command, I did repel his fetters, and denied his access to me.
That had made him mad. I am sorry that with better heed and judgment I had not quoted him. I fear he did but trifle, and meant to wreck thee. But pursue my jealousy. By heaven, it is proper to our age, that cast beyond ourselves in our own opinions. It is as common for the young sort to lack discretion. Come, we go to the king. This must be known, which, being kept close, might move more grief to hide than hate to other love. Come.
Congrats and Guildenstern. Please be seated. I've wanted to see you for a long time now, but I sent for you so hastily because I need your help right away. You've probably heard about the change that's come over Hamlet as of late. That's the only word for it, since inside and out he's different from what he has been before.
Gentlemen, Hamlet talked a lot about you. And I know there are no two men alive his fonder of. If you'll be so good as to spend some time with us and help us out, you'll be thanked on a royal.
Our service is at your command, Mr. President.
Thanks, Rosencrantz, and worthy Guildenstern.
Thanks, Guildenstern, and worthy Rosencrantz.
I hope to God we can make him happy and do him some good.
Amen to that.
I do.
The ambassadors are back from Norway, sir.
Once again, you bring me good news.
Do I, sir? I assure your majesty that I'm only doing my both to God and my good president. And I believe, unless this brain of mine is not so politically cunning as it used to be, that I found out why Hamlet's gone crazy.
Oh, please do tell me.
All right, but let the ambassadors speak. They can hear my news as dessert.
Then be so kind as to show them in.
That's right, Mr. President.
Very good.
I doubt it's anything but the obvious reason his father's dying or quick marriage.
The vice president is crazy. Crazy, I'm calling it. Since how can you say what craziness is except to say it's craziness, but that's another story.
That's crazy.
Please, stick to the point.
It's true he's crazy. It's a shame it's true. The next step is to figure out the cause and effect of this craziness. I have a daughter who's given me this letter. Listen and think about this. To heavenly idol of my soul, to the most beautiful-eyed Ophelia. By the way, beautified sounds bad. It sounds awful, sounds crude, it's a terrible use of the word, but I'll go on. In her excellent white bosom, etc., etc., so you don't need to hear all this stuff.
Hamlet wrote this letter to Ophelia.
Madam, please be patient. I'll read it to you. You may wonder if the stars are fire. You may wonder if the sun moves across the sky. You may wonder if the truth is a liar. But never wonder if I love. Oh, Ophelia, I'm bad at poetry, but I can't put my feelings into verse. But please believe I love you best. Oh, best of all, I believe it. Yours forever, my dearest one, as long as I live, still chugging along. Vice President Hamlet.
And how did she react to all of this?
Mr. President, what is your opinion of me?
I know you are loyal and honorable, sure.
I would like to prove that to you, sir. But what would I have thought of me if I had kept quiet when I found out about this hot little love, which I noticed before my daughter even told me about it?
Do you think that's why Hamlet's crazy? Dear Gertrude?
It may be, it certainly may be.
Has there ever been a time, I'd really like to know, when I've definitely said something was true and it turned out not to be true, Mr. President?
Not that I would know of.
Chop off my head if I'm wrong. I'll follow the clues and uncover the truth, even if it's the very center of the earth.
Well, what can we do to find out if it's the truth or not?
Well, he sometimes walks here in the lobby for 4 hours at a time. When he's there next time, I'll send my daughter to see him. You and I will hide behind the Eros and watch what happens.
We'll try what you suggest.
Look how Sally he's coming in, reading this book.
Please, go away, both of you. I'll speak to him now.
As you wish.
How are you, Hamlet?
Fine, thank you.
Do you know who I am?
Of course. You're selfish.
Now, what does I mean by that? Still harping on my daughter? But he didn't recognize me at first. He mistook me for a fish seller. He's gone too far. But when I was young, I went crazy for love too. Almost as bad as this. I'll talk to him. What are you reading, Mr. Vice President?
A lot of words.
There's a method to his madness. Will you step outside, Mr. Vice President?
Into my grave?
Well, that's certainly out of this world, all right. His answers are so full of meaning sometimes. He has a way with words as crazy people often do. And that sane people don't have a talent for. I'll leave him now and arrange a meeting between him and my daughter. Mr. Vice President, I'll take my leave of you now.
You can't take anything from me that I care less about except my life, except my life, except my life.
Goodbye, Mr. Vice President. Gentlemen, I hope you all are well.
I bet he's coming to tell me about the actors. Just watch. You're right, sir. That happened on Monday morning.
Mr. Vice President, I have news for you.
Mr. Secretary, I have news for you. When Rascolas was an actor in ancient Rome.
The actors have arrived, Mr. Vice President. I swear.
Each actor arrives on his ass.
They are the best actors in the world.
O Jephthah, judge in accent Israel, what a treasure you had.
What treasure did he have, my lord?
Well, one fine daughter and no one whom love more than anything.
Still talking about my daughter, I see.
Aren't I right, Jephthah, old man?
If you're calling me Jephthah, Mr. Vice President, I do have a daughter I love more than anything, yes.
No, that's not logical.
What is logical then, Mr. Vice President?
Why, as if by chance, God knows. And then you know, it happened as you expected. If you want to know more, you can refer to the popular song, Because Now I Have Stopped.
All right. Have a nice day, Mr. President.
Murder has no tongue, but miraculously it stands fine a way to speak. I'll have these actors perform something like my father's murder in front of my uncle. I'll watch my uncle. I'll probe his conscience and see if he blinches. If he becomes pale, I know what to do. The ghost I saw may be the devil, and the devil has the power to assume and pleasing and so he may be taking advantage of my weakness and sadness to bring about the damnation. I need better evidence than the ghost to work with, the play, the thing, to uncover the conscience of the king.